Hey guys, welcome back. IAmAdriaRenee. If you're new here, hey. If you're not new here, what's up? So, happy Valentine's Day. You may be looking like, why is she doing this video on Valentine's Day? Well, I feel like, with life, holidays come. Valentine's Day, I don't know if you consider that a real holiday, but people celebrate it. It's just a day of love, showing love to your family, your friends, your significant others, your partners, your kids, your parents, however you choose to show love on Valentine's Day. So with that being a normal part of every day, right? Like, or birthdays. I know a lot of people born on Valentine's Day. So with February 14th coming around every year, right? Like, with that being the case, I wanted to put this video out today because I feel like we have to normalize mental health, right? Like, we're really working on it and all that jazz, which is great, but we're not there yet. And so I feel like putting this video out today is helping us normalize it, because just because today's Valentine's Day doesn't mean that if you were feeling depressed yesterday, or if you've been depressed all year, that you're just gonna miraculously not be depressed today, right? Like, you may be less depressed if people, are showing you love. You could be more depressed because no one's showing you love. We forget like the extremes, we forget the in-betweens, we forget the fact that some people, might be depressed because, they lost someone that they love, and whether it, be through death or through, the person just removing themselves from their life, or them removing them from their life, that they're just gonna miraculously be okay. Like, you just assume today's a day of love and that everybody's gonna be loved and feel loved, and that's not the case. That's not true. Like, that's not realistic. We hope and pray and want people to feel love, whether it be today or, any day of the year, but sometimes that's just not true. We also know that someone dies every single day, so someone died today, someone's loved one died today, or maybe yesterday, or maybe tomorrow. And we also know that people are born every day, right? So a new baby was born today, so that's a blessing. But whose baby was that, right? Like, do you know the person who had the baby today? Maybe not. Do you know the person whose parent or sibling or partner or somebody passed today? No. So, I mean, if you do, my condolences. But if you don't, like, you're not thinking about that, right? You're just thinking about, oh, today's Valentine's Day, let me show love and blah, blah, blah. But everybody's not necessarily in that spirit. So I just felt like, today was a good day to post this video. One, because I've been supposed to talk about depression for a really long time. And two, because I just feel like, again, let's normalize it. Like, everyone's not happy that today's Valentine's Day. Everybody's not sad today's Valentine's Day either. But we have to be aware that life continues going on, right? So if you're interested in chatting with me a little bit about depression, which I guess I'm gonna be the one that talks mostly, I might premiere this video so that you can do a live chat if you want to with me, or you can just watch this, whenever you choose. But either way, if you're interested in hearing a little bit about depression, then keep on watching. Okay, so as a mental health professional, I guess you can call me. I have a master's in counseling psychology. Y'all should have just read that disclaimer. It's real. I feel like, I'm clearly educated and I have the background to discuss this. But if you're feeling any of these symptoms to an extreme level, then please reach out to your own therapist that you may already have, or reach out to someone who can provide you with a therapist. You can reach out to me too. I do have resources for counselors in Illinois as well as in Missouri. I'm going to read the definition of depression, and then we're going to talk about it. Because again, like, you can read stuff, you know, we're good for reading stuff on WebMD and then thinking we're dying the next day, and that's never really the case. I mean, unless it is the case. But more than likely it's not the case. So I'm going to read the clinical definition of what depression is, and then, like I said, we'll talk about it. So clinical depression, or also known as MDD, which is major depressive disorder, which is a mood disorder. Anxiety is a mood disorder. Bipolar, mood disorder. It affects your mood. Is a mental health disorder characterized by persistently, the keyword persistent, depressed mood or loss of interest in activities, causing a significant impairment in life. Again, the keywords being persistent and significant impairment in your everyday life. So possible causes include a combination of biological, psychological, and social sources of distress. So the persistent feeling of sadness or loss of interest characterizes major depressive, okay? And it can lead to a range of behavioral as well as physical symptoms, okay? And then, so those behavioral changes can include changes in sleep, appetite, energy level, concentration, your daily behavior, like what you do on a daily, or self-esteem. And it can also be, you know, a cause of people who have thoughts of suicide, thoughts to want to self-harm. So usually the treatment is talk therapy or medication, which is pretty much, you know, a typical treatment for most disorders, right? I prefer talk therapy, but there are degrees in which medication is necessary. This was interesting to me, which, I mean, makes sense. It says that research suggests that these treatments may normalize brain changes associated with depression. I could talk about that later, but I'm going to talk about that right now. So what that means is that your brain could get used to being in this state, and that can be, from my interpretation and understanding, it can be both positive and negative, right? So it could be positive in the sense that your brain gets used to being in, like, to having depression. And so with it being used to having depression, like, you know, you cope, basically, right? So that's the positive side of it. You cope, you learn ways to cope because you're always in this state, and your brain now has figured out a way to function positively being in this state. The negative side of that, though, is that you just succumb to it. And so your brain is so used to being in this state that it's going to take a lot to get you out of it. You sit there and you're stuck, and you don't want to get out of it. Nothing anybody says or does can get you out of it, which in those extreme cases, medication, right? Because now we need to alter your brain activity and the way that your brain reacts to stuff in the hopes that we can pull you out of it. Because again, I'm not a medical professional. I do know, you know, a little bit about psychotropic medication. I understand that they're typically used to get you back to a baseline. It's not to make you better, okay? It's to get you back to a baseline to where now we can talk about this and figure out what we can do in order to improve that. But again, you know, oftentimes, I'm gonna segue a little bit for a second. Oftentimes, you know, people end up in psychiatric hospitals and whatnot, and, you know, they want your counselor, the therapist, or the nurse or whoever to wave a magic wand and make them better again, and that's not how this works, right? Because I'm sure as we continue to normalize mental health that we're aware that some people feel like, oh, if I just take meds, or if even, you know, on the more herbal side, if I just smoke, you know, some marijuana, that I'll be okay. It's fine, right? And the thing about it is that most of those chemicals or the herbal supplements, whatever, they're getting you back to a baseline. They're not curing you. It's never going to cure you. And the more you do it, the more you're dependent on it. You get to a point where if you're doing it often enough, you're not building the coping skills that you need to be able to deal with something. So if you stop, all those symptoms come back, like irritability and all of that. So, medication is helpful in the extreme cases, but it helps you get back to a baseline. It does not cure you. Okay, so I'm off my soapbox. So with depression, the difference between MDD and just, for example, like seasonal depression, the difference is the persistence, the time, duration, the time span in which you're in this mood is the difference, right? Because, for example, a lot of people that have seasonal depression, and what that means is that with the change in the seasons, they may have depressive symptoms, right? So they may lose interest in doing what they normally do. They may just feel kind of sad some days. There's additional with depression, like maybe somebody passed during this time, and so you're having a moment during this time, but before then you're fine, and after it you're fine. But in the moment of those dates, or maybe doing something that you used to do with a loved one who's no longer here, or different things like that, where you feel sad. And feeling sad is a normal emotion, right? Like there are days you feel sad, and there are days you're happy, and there are days that you're just like, that's normal. That's not, you're not, you don't have a depressive disorder. You're not, you don't need to seek out treatment. I mean, unless you just want to, because, counseling isn't just for people who have disorders and people who have problems. Like counseling is just helpful in everyday life, right? Like if you're deciding on a career change, like you might want to talk to somebody, it's not just for when you're sick. So I think, we as people try to make it seem like, oh, you're going to a counselor, so there must be something wrong with you. And it's like, no, I just want to talk to somebody, and maybe I don't want to talk to you because you're judgmental, right? There are a lot of people in the world who are super judgmental, and they swear up and down, oh, I'm not judgmental, but then like their responses to what you're saying is super judgmental, right? Like it's like a get over it. It's only, it's only this or it's only that. And it's like, you can't minimize somebody else's feelings and then think that they're gonna keep talking to you, right? I mean, maybe you do, but I don't. If you minimize my feelings enough time, I'm not gonna talk to you at all. And actually, because I have the background that I do, I'm not going to talk to you in general, because I can figure it out myself, which that might be a red flag. It might be a red flag, but it's okay, because at the same time, like I say that, but if things were ever to get to a point where, it was concerning, I think because of my background, because of that, education and all the stuff that I had to go through in order to get my degree, that I would, talk to somebody if I felt like it was, necessary. And I think I speak for most mental health professionals when I say that. It's just a matter of just being open and honest with yourself and wanting the best for yourself, and knowing that therapy is not bad, and it's helpful, and it's beneficial. And all those people who say, well, I didn't get therapy, and that's sure, maybe you're okay, but are you really? I don't know, because I feel like a lot of people that say that are not okay. I just was all over the place with that. But pretty much being depressed and being sad, I should say, just to distinguish between the two, being sad and having a depressive episode, and being diagnosed as major depressive are all very different. Like I said, it's about the time frame, it's about the impact that it does have on your everyday life. So, self-disclosure, I realized probably at the beginning of this year that I was depressed. And I don't mean like just depressed, like, ooh, I'm depressed. No, like I definitely fit the criteria for major depressive disorder. I know that the major part of it was the loss of my mom, right? Now, mind you, my mother passed last year, at the beginning of last year, and we're at the beginning of 2022. So it was late onset. I feel like I've been discussing just kind of what has been transpiring over the course of last year and the feelings that I felt towards people in my life and all of that. And I think just having to deal with everybody else's emotions and deal with everybody else being super selfish and not really giving a flying crap about me and how I was dealing with the fact that I lost my whole parent, right? Like, y'all lost a sibling or a cousin or a friend or whatever, but I lost my whole ass mom. And I feel like for me, people were leaning on me super hard, which is understandable. I mean, I've never been one to, I got you, hold on. I've never been one to be like, I'm not super emotional. Like, I've never been that person. If you've ever seen me emotional, it was more than likely at a funeral, and it was for about 5 seconds, and then I was fine, right? I'm not fit to be crying. That's probably a coping mechanism that I developed a long time ago. The way that I express emotion when it comes to a loss and to death is not like everybody else. And again, if you know me, you know this. If you don't, now you do. And then also the fact that because I wasn't reacting, I guess, how people expected me to, I was also getting judged for that. But yeah, so I think just dealing with all of that and the fact that I had a 6-month-old baby at the time too, I didn't have the leisure, I'm gonna use that word because I can't think of another one. I didn't have the leisure to just be like, okay, let me go sit in a corner and cry, because nothing was gonna get done. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing was gonna get done, and things needed to get done. I couldn't sit in a corner and cry, because if I sat in a corner and cried, who was gonna handle this house situation? Who was gonna take care of my baby? Who was gonna deal with all this if I didn't deal with it? No one. It wasn't gonna get dealt with. And as we know, time keeps happening. Nothing's stopping. Like, I watched this movie, it was called Needle in a Time Stack, which if you have Amazon Prime, check it out, because it was a very interesting movie because of the fact that it basically was pointing out how they could change time. Like, they could go back and fix things. They could go back and bring, and not allow someone to do something so that they wouldn't die, but that everything like that has consequences, right? And so the fact of the matter is that was a movie, and this is my real life, and I couldn't sit here and do nothing because nothing was gonna get done. And then the fact that these were family members that didn't have to help me, and the family members that should have been helping me weren't anywhere in sight. So I think because all that happened, right? So all that happened from my mom passed in January. So from January to April, May, June, I was trying to figure some stuff out. And then I was also in Kansas City, which I don't know if I've talked about too much, but Kansas City is not my happy place. It never has been, and it never ever will be. My family members are there, my daddy's there, so of course I'm gonna go visit and whatnot, but it's not my happy place. If I don't have to be there, I don't want to be there. It's not good for my mental health. It's just too much stuff is happening in Kansas City, and I chose to remove myself from it. So having to be there for 6 months was not fun. I absolutely hated it, but I also didn't want to be in the apartment that I was in at the time. Nonetheless, so all that happened, so that I came back here. I quit my job right before I came back here because I found this place that we moved in, and then I sat and took care of my child and got my house together and did whatever for those 6 months. And within those 6 months, I think the last 2 or 3 is when the depression started kicking in, and then it was full blown in January when I realized it. I'm a lot better than I was, so that's why I decided to do this video, because I feel like, in the midst of having depression, who's trying to do a video about depression? I feel like this was a lot less about depression, a whole lot more about me being depressed, and I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how much of that's gonna stay in here. when it comes to depression, I just think it's really important to acknowledge your feelings, okay? When you lose a loved one and you're not able to properly mourn them, that's usually how that goes, right? Because you've been going like an Energizer bunny, right? And then you're sitting there one day because you finally completed everything you needed to complete, and you're like, holy crap. Now, there's probably gonna be a video coming out in a couple months, hopefully showing my weight loss, because this is a full. But that's also how I realized what was going on with me, because I was like, why can't I lose this weight? Like, there's no way I should still be this big. Like, no way. Yet I am. So it's just about being honest with yourself, acknowledging that you're not perfect, you're human, things happen, life happens, and life is gonna keep happening. So it's about what are we gonna do to help ourselves? How can we help ourselves? So with depression, it's important that, one, you can acknowledge, like, okay, I'm depressed, or okay, something's not right. Whether you know what it is, or whether it's like other people around you are saying something and maybe you just haven't realized it, and you're sitting there trying to figure out why people keep saying whatever they're saying, or maybe like your affect is very sad, and it's like, I'm not sad, but you look sad as hell, right? But again, because of life, you're not really sitting there thinking about your emotions, but it's impacting you. It's impacting your everyday life. You're not doing as much as you wanted to do. You're not going out with your friends all the time like you used to. You're, whatever you normally are doing, you're not doing it. And then again, the duration of time, right? Like, if it's just a week and then you're fine the next week, okay. But if it's a week and then you're fine, and then it's a week and then you're fine, and then it's a week, and this has been going on for like years, yeah, we need to check that out, because that might not even be depression. That might be something altogether different. And we're good for lying to doctors, right? We have the depression scales on the medical forms now, which I think is amazing. And people lying, like, you're just flat out lying. And I mean, it's okay. You don't want to maybe accept what's going on with you. You don't want to be stigmatized, but your doctor's not judging you, and neither is your mental health professional. And if your mental health professional or your doctor is judging you, I need you to find some new professionals. I think that's also why a lot of Black people as well, don't go get counseling. Because it is stigmatized in the Black community, POC community, but I feel like, we try and be like, oh no, that's a white people thing, and white people do that. And it's like, I know a lot of people who are white that feel the exact same way that a lot of Black and other people of color feel, because they're like, what the hell, I'm not crazy, or I don't need therapy, or blah blah blah. Like, it's literally a people thing. Like, it may be more prevalent because it seems like we as Black people really ain't for it, but I think just acknowledging that it's really just a human thing. Like, we as humans think that we can figure things out by ourselves, or not even maybe by yourself, your religious belief of, God got me and all that. And yeah, God does have you. He absolutely does. But God also made people like me and doctors and professionals who go and get the schooling that is provided to do whatever job that they do. Like, God provided those people too. God created all of this, okay? And maybe whatever your higher power is, okay, whoever you believe in, created all of this, right? Like, we agree on that, right? Or science created this, whatever. However you want to look at it, the earth and everything in it was created by someone, something, whatever, right? So in that creation, doctors, counselors, therapists, whomever, dentists, whomever, were also created, right? And they're here for us to utilize them. So it's like, people are created to help other people. So if you're sitting here trying to seem like, it's your blah, 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 whatever the case may be. Like, no, they're there to help you. They're there to support you. Like, we know that we need people. Like, it's been proven. It's been proven psychologically, medically, all of that, that we need people, okay? The Wire Mother experiment, if you know what I'm talking about, kudos. If you don't, check it out. I'm pretty sure you can just type in Wire Mother experiment, and it's with, I think they were monkeys, but the thing, it remains the same, okay? And even there's another experiment that involves babies, but I can't think of what it is right now. My brain is fried, y'all. I'm sorry. But that has to do with what I was going through, which we're coming out of it, so that'll get better. But it's about the fact that we need love. Like, we need it. Like, we thrive off of it. Even if it's the smallest amount of love from your baby, right? Or from your partner and no one else, or from whomever, from a random stranger, because you went to the store today and they just for some reason just came up to you and offered, which COVID, so 6 feet, but they came, they just offered you some words of encouragement or whatever. Like, we need that. We need that comfort, that knowing that, even if it's just for a slight moment, that everything's gonna be okay. You know what I mean? We need that as humans, as animals, as creatures on earth. We need that. I don't know about the ants and them, but we're not talking about them, okay? But we need that. And so it's important to understand that. It's important to accept that, and to just be open and honest with yourself, because at the end of the day, a lot of completed suicides are a result of people not feeling loved, not feeling that they're wanted or that they're needed, feeling like they're less than. And that's their brain, right? Their mind is convincing them. That's, like I said, about your brain adapting to the depression. And so you're so stuck in that. And it's like, you just need one person to care. Just one person to be like, well, maybe you should blah, blah, and not be so stigmatized. Be like, oh no, God got you, you'll be all right. Like, that's not helpful. Like, I'm sure we've seen all these BetterHelp.com commercials where they're showing you what you're saying is not helpful at all. When I think about depression, oftentimes it goes hand in hand with anxiety, and it's because of the fact that when you have anxiety, and when you have an anxiety disorder specifically, like, your anxiety is about ruminating about things, right? So overthinking, constantly thinking about the same things over and over, or the past, or things that you have no control over. And so we push mindfulness because it's about being present in the moment and acknowledging that you can't change anything about what happened 5 seconds ago, 5 days ago, 5 years ago. There's nothing you can do about those things. You have to sit presently, because if you continue to think about what happened in the past, it's going to continue to affect your present. And then in the future, when we get there, you're going to keep doing the same thing, because that's all you've been doing is looking at the past, and then days are going by and nothing's getting done. And so you're becoming more and more anxious. You're becoming more and more depressed because you're not focused on the here and now. You're not focused on what you can do right now today to help yourself, or what you can change, the small things you can change in your day-to-day life that are going to help you to feel better over time. Because again, also knowing that, like I said, I don't have a magic wand to be like, poop. Not poop made her laugh. To say that and you're going to be cured. It's not reality. It's not real. If you ever talk to anybody who's like, oh, I can give you this pill and you're cured, very Matrix like, it's not real. It's a day to day process. It's a day in, day out process. And then, like I said, you can have depressive symptoms. You can be sad today and fine tomorrow, situational depression. Or you can have MDD. And in that case, again, it's just about, talking about it, talking about you know, and that's the thing, right? So, you know, it's not about forgetting the past, because forgetting the past isn't going to help you move forward. Because if you just forget about what happened, which you can't do, but if you try to just forget about what happened, how are you going to fix it? Right? Like, how are you going to come up with solutions to help you moving forward if you're just completely forgetting about all the things that may have contributed to your feelings to begin with? Where's my necklace? You know, just a quick so quick talk therapy moment. We sit there, we talk about like what is impacting you, right? What's going on? Why are you feeling like this? Or why do you think you're feeling like this? And a lot of times people don't know what's going on. People don't realize what triggered their depression, especially when it becomes a disorder, because it's been going on for so long and they just haven't even realized that it's going on, right? And in those cases, you don't know what triggered it. So then it's like, okay, you know, so what's been going on? You know, you talk about what's going on in your life, what's been happening, right? And then, because oftentimes, which is what a therapist really is. Like, we're not, like I said, we're not magical creatures, but we actively listen real well. And so because we listen so well, we can pinpoint different things for you that you may not even thought about because you weren't thinking about it. And then you can take those things that are pinpointed and talk about them. So like I said, you may not know what caused your depression, but maybe you lost your job last year and you haven't been able to find a job like that, but you have a job, so you know that's why you're not really thinking like that had any effect on it, because you have a job. But maybe, you know, you're not happy in that job either, right? So it's like you didn't realize that losing that job or quitting that job or whatever was going to impact you the way it did. And even though you do have a job now and you think everything's okay, maybe it's not, right? So then it's like talking about that, figuring out, is that what it is? If it's not, move on. If it is, okay, let's talk about it, right? Maybe, you know, I don't know, somebody passed, but they weren't too close to you, but you know, you knew them, and you know, it made you start thinking about death, right? It made you start thinking about the reality that life, you know, that the end of life is death, and no one lives forever. Like, so far, you know, science trying to do whatever they're trying to do to, I'll never freeze people, I don't know, whatever. I don't know nothing about that. But you know what I mean? And so it had you thinking about life, and it had you maybe thinking about other deaths that happened that you weren't even realizing had impacted you like they did, and you know, now here we are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, a year and a half later, and you've been showing all these depression signs, but it just never clicked until something else happened, and now, you know, it was a straw that broke the camel's back, and you're thinking it's just this one thing, but you're like, but that didn't really bother me, so I don't know why I reacted that way. But it's like, no, it's all the stuff that happened before that you didn't even know was impacting you the way it was. Depression is I feel like mental health in general is just a really interesting topic, which is why I went into it, obviously. As well as, like I mentioned in the anxiety video, most of us either have had some kind of therapy, need some kind of therapy, have been around people who may have needed some kind of therapy and never received it, or whatever the case may be. And so we put ourselves in these positions to help those who eventually do seek out, or to even, you know, look at yourself or look at your family members like, oh yeah, no, that person, you know, is going through it or whatever. But maybe being their family member, you know, maybe they'll listen to you more, because as we know, it's a conflict of interest to therapize. I'm gonna use that word. To therapize your relatives, friends, family, cousins, second cousins, third cousins removed, whomever. It's malpractice. So if you're doing that, I highly suggest you stop. There's a difference between, like, I have the background so I can give you some advice versus I'm trying to diagnose you. I feel like I've been talking a lot about depression. The criteria for major depressive disorder is clear, clean cut. It's not hard to understand. and as well as there's degrees of severity, mild, moderate, and severe. With any disorder, there are better days, okay? So maybe they've been depressed and full-blown severe depression for like weeks, right? And then but they haven't been doing anything, so maybe like their house isn't completely destroyed, they don't have any kids or anything like that, so maybe they've just been laying in bed for weeks, they haven't washed their behind, they haven't done their hair, they haven't brushed their teeth, you know, whatever they can, like their hygiene is terrible. And maybe they've lost a ton of weight because they're not getting out of bed to eat, right? So severe, yes, but it's not like you can't really see it. So for example, maybe, you know, somebody is like, oh, let's do this, and it's like, oh, you know, I'm not really feeling it, but maybe like you've put this person off for like months and months and months and months, and they're the type of person that's not gonna let you do that, right? And you know that, so you muster up whatever you got in you to just be like, all right, let me just get up, let me do this so they can leave me the hell alone, right? And so you do it, and so, you know, and maybe you can even have a conversation that's not majorly depressive or whatever, or maybe they're the type of person that just talks and talks and talks, and you don't have to, you just got to sit there and act like you care, right? And then you go back home and you do the same thing. So I mean, you know, depression shows itself in a lot of different forms, and you know, you just really have to be cognizant of yourself and mindful, because it is a mood disorder. You know, that's what it is. Like, your mood is impacted by your thinking, right? Like, if you think happy thoughts, hopefully your mood will, you know, improve. I mean, not necessarily. I know people say fake it till you make it, and I mean, that statement is, I say it's interesting because you're faking it till you make it, but it's not really that, right? Like the faking it, it's not really faking, because the more you tell yourself positive things and the more you put and pull positive people and positivity into your life, it's going to have an impact. It's gonna make you happy. It's gonna, maybe not for long, right? But you're gonna get, like, your mood is going to improve. So that's I feel like that's where the term fake it till you make it comes from. I think a lot of people take that term a little wrong, and if it doesn't work, it's because they're faking it to the extent where they're just saying it for other people. They're not saying it for themselves. They're not saying it so that they can feel better. They're not saying it with the hopes and the beliefs that they're gonna feel better. Like, they're saying it because it's like, well, someone told me to do it, so let me do it. But in those instances, that doesn't work. It doesn't work when you don't actually want to do it. So someone can fake it till they make it forever, and, well, not forever, but if they don't actually believe that it's possible, that's when it doesn't work. Even the slightest hope, you just need a little bit of hope, that, you know, this too shall pass, right? That it's not gonna always be like this. Or if you don't have that hope, because, you know, like, we want people to have hope. We want people to believe and look back on their life and be like, oh, well, this is just a moment, right? But at the same time, there are people who have had struggles their entire lives, right? And there might have been positive times in their life, but it's like, but overall, like, their life has been trash. So I think in instances where people, you know, have, like, been struggling their entire lives, it's flipped, right? So you're not thinking about the hope that you once had. You're not thinking about the past. You're thinking about what you believe can come. It's when you can look at the future, right? It's when you're looking, you're like, nope, I have all these dreams and desires and what I want to accomplish and everything. So, okay, life sucks right now, but it's not always going to be like this, right? It's going to get better as long as I, you know, continue to put one foot forward in a positive manner. It's going to get better, and I'm going to, you know, live the life that I want to live. Life is what you make it. right? And that's such a cliche statement, but life is what you make it. And what I mean by that is that yes, life might suck, life could have sucked, life might still suck, right? But if you're thinking in that manner, it's also like confirmation bias, which but confirmation bias, I'll just quickly reiterate, is the fact that you think something's gonna happen negative, and so it happens. Like it's because you're looking, like your brain is looking for all of these things that are going to lead it to happen. And so because you already believe it's gonna happen, and now because your brain is like, oh, this is gonna happen, so now you're like, oh, this happened, that happened too, yep, it's gonna happen. And so it happens, when really it's because of the fact that you were looking for those things that then yielded that response. Whereas if you would have been looking for some other things completely different, the response could have been completely different. It's important, however, wherever you are in life, that, you know, if things are going bad right now, know that it's not going to always be like this. Even if it's been like this forever, it's not always going to be like this. You're in control of your destiny. You're in control of your life. There are things outside of your control. That's life. Things are outside of our control all the time. We can only control ourselves, literally. That's all we can control. This is my baby, right? But I can't control her. Like, there's nothing I can do but control myself. I can control the way I respond, the way I think, the way I look, the way I act. That's all I can control. I can influence her by the way that I act to yield her to act a certain way, but she's still gonna do what she wants, right? Like it doesn't matter what I do. My child is going to do what she wants. Now, all I can do is, instill and hope that she, follows what I'm trying to tell her and teach her, so that she, builds a mind frame that is more on, in a correct way. I mean, whatever way you raise your kids is correct for you, right? Obviously, there are certain things you don't do, but regardless, people do what they want to do. And so, you can influence someone, you can influence a baby's behavior, you can influence another person's behavior, but ultimately the decision and the desire for that person is up to them. So I think in closing, depression is depression, and having depressive moments happens. We're human. We're, life. Being sad is okay. It's the prolonged sadness it's not an issue, but it's a concern. And if you feel like anything that I've talked about set with you, whether it be good or bad, if you want to talk about it, I'm here. If you want to talk to your therapist, go holler at them. If you feel like, things are just, not what you expected, that's okay too. Life is life. And like I said, you're in control. You are in control of what you're in control of. So when things are out of your control, all you can do is figure out another way, right? Choose another route if that's what it needs to be, or or seek other support if that's what you need. But ultimately, you're in control, and you have the power to do everything that you need to do. It is that you need to enlist other people to do it. Do that. But, it's my goal for these different therapy days and transparency days is really just to help. It's to help, because, we're so good at just going through the motions and acting like everything's okay. And then, we get home at night and we're crying in our pillows, or I don't know, crying in our pillows, or maybe you're self-harming, or you're having thoughts to want to complete suicide, or whatever the case may be. And, that's okay. That's normal. I guarantee that any person more than likely at one point in their life has thought about self-harm or about attempting. Someone around you multiple people around you have had these thoughts, and it's nothing to be ashamed of, because this is why there are so many random completed suicides and so many self-harming situations where people end up in hospitals and they end up in the psychiatric facilities, because it's concerning, and it's because they didn't feel like there was someone there that they could talk to, that they could be honest and open with, because people are so judgmental, and even people who think they're not judgmental are mad judgmental. The conclusion that I want to come to in this video is that it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's also okay to seek help. It's okay to feel all those feelings and to do something about it. Feeling that way and not do anything about it isn't going to help you, right? It's not going to fix anything. It's not going to solve anything. It's not going to remedy anything. Things are going to continue to be the same if you don't do anything about it, right? Or if you're someone who sees a loved one or someone you care about hurting, like, help them. Like, we're so good to just judge people and be like, oh, well, they're blah, blah, blah. Like, have you even thought about why they might be acting this way? No, because you're so full of yourself and so, I'm fine and everything's good over here, so what's wrong with them? To just take a step back, right? Because like I said, depressive episodes are also very common. People are sad. You've been sad some days, right? And maybe you just wanted somebody to realize that you were sad and to just give you a hug or to say it's going to be okay. All right? Maybe that's what all that person needs. Today, Tuesday. So, I appreciate you guys for watching. If you made it this far, I super love you, but I also hope that it was informative for you to just kind of listen to my thoughts and my experience and background and whatever else this video was for you. I appreciate you guys for watching. Like I said, give me a like. Don't forget to comment if you have any topics or criteria or whatever that you'd like me to discuss in a future mental health video. Subscribe if you like this content. I'm ADRIaRenee, and that's what we do around here, random content. Also, these earrings have been shaken throughout this entire video, and I meant to mention them. These are some love earrings, because it's Valentine's Day. From Chic Diva. I will link her website down below. She has a lot of beautiful oversized accessories. She has smaller accessories too, but I feel like the overall vibe is they're statement pieces, okay? So if you wanna give a statement with an outfit and some accessories, then check out Chic Diva. Like I said, I will link it down below. I might actually also put it on the screen, chicdiva.com, for all your accessory needs. It's all types of accessories, anything you could literally imagine, I feel like is on that website. She's a young Black business owner with statement pieces and accessories and all that. So yeah, go check her out. As well as, if y'all like my hair, be on the lookout. We bald headed around here, but we had to do something. I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk.